Hola, Bryant Caves. ¿Cómo está?
Bien. Gracias, E2.
Muy bien. However, I can't go any further
That
than that.
was
Hey,
that was the whitest Spanish I've ever heard in my life. That was as bad as so I took high school Spanish in the South.
mhm.
Obviously I grew up in the South. So everybody talks like this in the South. And
Muy bien.
one of my favorite um things at one of well, this is Alyssa, so I'm not gonna steal her story. But
Steal it.
this is
She's
an
not going to
Alyssa's.
listen. I told Amy her Christmas gift on here 3 weeks before Christmas. I just told her last week that we said it. I said your Christmas gift 3 weeks, and she's like, "Oh, well,
Well, Alyssa always gets mad that I steal her jokes. So I won't say this is my story. I'll say this is Alyssa's story. Um, she, obviously taking Spanish in the South. One time they had to write just like a sentence or something on like, what did you do over the weekend? And one of the teachers looks at the looks at the Spanish teacher and he says, "How do you say mud bogging in Spanish?"
oh Lord, like nothing about that shocks me." Hearing the Gainesville stories and whatnot, like nothing about that
Oh no, this in
shocks me.
Gainesville, Thomas. Gainesville is a giant burg. This is about like comparing Columbus to say Pataskala.
Oh God. Oh
I grew up
God.
we grew up out in the middle of nowhere, my friend. This is real country folk. Gainesville was a thriving metropolis.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking of Bobby Boucher with his mama out at the picnic table with Vicky Valancourt. That's what I'm imagining right now out there.
Miss Boucher, what part of the snake would you say we're eating tonight? Well, snakes don't really have parts,
But if
but
I
if I
had
had to get,
the knee,
I'd say it's his knee.
oh well, this is not where we were gonna go at all. But this is better. This is definitely better. I don't know much about like back home growing up. Like I grew up in a place called Canal Fulton, and I had babysitters Jewel and Jewel Dean, and they lived kind of out there. Like they went like they had a little grassy field next to their house and stuff, and that seemed as rural as it could be in my Northeast Ohio brain. Canal Fulton's about 30 minutes west of Canton, right by Massillon. Raise the roof for Canton, Ohio. What? I did not really know much about rural living until I first saw Waterboy, and then probably getting to know you, Brian.
Yeah, that was my life, man. I'm from like a town called Trenton, Florida. It's about 30 miles west of Gainesville,
It
which
sounds very like Trenton. It sounds very British. Trenton.
well, everyone thought it was New Jersey, and I was like, do I sound like somebody that's from New Jersey? Um, and so, yeah, I mean, we're talking the entire county, Gilchrist County, had one stoplight. That
Gilchrist
was
County.
that was in the town that I live, Trenton. Alyssa is also from Gilchrist County. She's from an even smaller town called Bell. Bell did not have a stoplight. All they had was a flashing yellow light. We're talking one high school, one elementary school, one middle school.
It was all the same building.
Um, when I started school, the elementary, middle, and high school were on the same campus, and then they built a new elementary school, but that was
Mm,
after I graduated from elementary school. And so, but my middle and high school were on the same campus, yeah.
wow. Okay.
But yeah, very, very southern, very religious, very conservative. All
Sounds great.
yeah, yeah. There's a reason I don't live there anymore.
Speaking of really religious and conservative and rural, did you enjoy that Super Bowl halftime show? I loved it. That was the only thing I watched the last 5 minutes of the second quarter, and I watched the halftime show. That was the extent of me watching that Super Bowl.
I mean, I watched the whole game, watched all the commercials.
Mm.
That halftime show was great. Like I was really, really feeling that. Plus the memes. coming out of it were fantastic. 50 Cent making the appearance, and then all the memes that came from that. And then
Picking up
my
your
favorite.
phone as it drops in bed. Did you see that one? I think Felix shared that one. I saw that a day ago or so, though. Still, and 50, like when your phone drops off your bedstand and you're trying to get it from your bed. Oh,
Trying to plug in your phone without
that's
getting
what
out
it
of bed.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. That's what it was. Oh God. Or the Mary J. Blige. I think that's how people feel after listening to a full episode. They're just
Oh
like,
yeah, where she
duh.
just passed out in the middle. Yeah. It was something about like I saw my favorite one was, making fun of us old folk. I saw one that was a picture of all of them, and then it was quoting 50 Cent. It was like, "You can find me in the club, pocket full of Tums."
The best tweet I saw from all of that halftime show is if you really enjoyed that halftime show, you need to check your life insurance and your will. I'm not kidding. Actually, go do it.
There was also I saw somebody tweet something like, "Man, it was really cool to see, not to see like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Paul McCartney and some of these old artists, but somebody a little more new and modern." Oh wait, damn it.
Like Dr. Dre, who released music in the early 80s. Oh, the one thing that it needed more Kendrick Lamar. I don't think Kendrick got enough airtime, and he did a song from a couple albums ago, which I don't hate any Kendrick Lamar song, but he needed more of a platform. Other than that, I thought it was great. I know Dre and Snoop are going to be the big draw, and I get it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Then I watched Bobsled. I watched the Mono Bob event. That's been a lot of fun.
I will say, if anybody, because we didn't really do like a ton of Bam Fam questions this week, because we wanted to be a little more specific to our guest,
Of course, yeah.
who people will hear here in a few minutes. But I will say, I figured we'd get asked our favorite Super Bowl commercial. And mine was absolutely the one with where the kids are playing the video game, and then the tiny NFL players all pop out of the screen, and they're like playing a football game through the
I saw
house.
that one. Yeah, that was good. I
That
didn't. s-
was
I remember that one. I don't remember any other Super Bowl commercial because I wasn't watching.
not a strong, not a strong lineup. I did like the one with Keeping Up with the Joneses too. Did you see that one
That was. I remember that one
with
too. Maybe I've seen more than I thought.
Tommy Lee Jones and Rashida Jones and Leslie Jones, and then
Nick Jonas
Nick
pops
Jonas
up.
shows up.
That was okay. That was good too. I think every year everybody says, well, they just weren't as good as they used. But I think we have elevated those Budweiser frogs so much over the years that we think nobody can hit that Bud Wise.
Or
Er,
the what's
wow.
somebody made a really good point about the Super Bowl commercials, though, along those lines, like why the old ones we think are so much better, and this makes so much sense to me. It's because back then we didn't have memes.
Oh, that
Like
makes sense.
like
Memes are a
though
whole new medium. Yeah, they're
yeah,
whole. Yeah.
like those were our memes.
Mm.
Like that was what you got for basically the year to reference, was like
Mhm.
the Super Bowl commercials. You drove the "Was Up" thing or the Budweiser thing like into the ground, because we didn't have like
Yeah.
brand new memes showing up every single day on social media and stuff. Hell, I've already forgotten most of the Super Bowl commercials because I've moved on to the memes about the Super Bowl commercials, or memes about, something completely different. So it's like,
That's a really good point, Brian, that you shared from somebody else. But that's good that you remembered it. It's a good that makes a lot of sense.
is,
When my son watches YouTube videos, not Bryant and Me, that was a total mistake. If you saw on social media, I don't know how that came up. I don't search for our own show. I don't know how he found it. Um,
mhm.
but
Thomas was
he,
like, "Listen here, buddy.
you better
You're
learn.
you're
How do
gonna
you
listen.
say mud bogging in Spanish?
You are gonna
Uh,
listen to Daddy's show over and over. I need this listener count up."
I need to get his nightmares going. That's what I need to do. Um, but whenever he has his YouTube videos on, he watches them a little bit throughout the day, all day. The skip ads thing, somebody's like, Dad, turn the ads up, turn off the commercials. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I had to watch these as a kid. Just suck it up and watch them because I don't want to. Like, you didn't have a chance to turn off commercials. We were before DVR. Oh my God, Brian, we sound so damn old. And by
This
the
is
time this episode's over, we're probably gonna age another year. Actually,
this is depressing.
speaking of depressing, I'm just kidding. Our show is anything but depressing. So why don't we get into it? Because people are here to listen to Bekki Morgan, and they're listening to us go on for way too long. And they're thinking, my God, what number do I have to fast forward to? Why don't they have timestamps in the description?
You're stuck listening to all of us.
Wahahaha. Okay, let's get going. Welcome to Bryant and Me, we're a podcast where we talk about soccer and other things, other podcasty things. Welcome, everybody, to episode, I don't know what the number is right now, where we are going to talk through a lot of soccer tonight. Tonight is a really soccer-specific show, a little less on the podcasty things, but that's okay. Our main focus tonight is Racing Louisville FC, and not them, but somebody who covers Racing Louisville FC. Bekki Morgan writes for the Beautiful Game Network, Butchertown Rundown podcast. Just started writing about the team, last year. We learned on the interview so much great stuff we got. Does not seem like somebody who just started doing this. They're so Becky's great at what she does, and the interview is just a treat. We cover the good, the bad, the ugly, the mostly good from things that have been going on in Racing Louisville, and it's a great conversation. I took a lot out of it, so that's the main topic of our show, the main point of our show.
Yeah, I will say I'm really hyped for the season. Like I'm ready to
for the
start.
First time in a while. I'm hyped about the NWSL.
Yeah, I'm well, I think too, like seeing some soccer will maybe get our mind off of, because then we can at least just talk about stuff on the pitch.
Yeah, at least a little bit. So we got that. That's the main point of the show. Most of the show is going to be that interview. We are going to talk right before that interview about why we don't want to talk about the recent updates that happened in the Chicago Red Stars. And then we'll close out the show after that fantastic discussion with Bekki Morgan. Before that, though, before anything else, we do have to run through some of these scores from the teams that we like. We always do this every episode because we don't want to dedicate an entire segment to one team because there are so many gosh darn teams that we watch. So we're going to go through some scores and highlights real quick from those teams that we love. We're going to start. We did Liverpool first last week, right?
Sure.
Maybe. Okay, we'll do Tottenham. Do you want to do good or bad first?
Let's get the bad out of the way. The men's team sucks.
Yeah, the Tottenham men, they played two matches. Wednesday, February 9th against Southampton. There's a T and an H in the middle there, but it's an F. Southampton. They beat them Southampton beat the Tottenhams 3-2. And then on Sunday, February 13th, Wolves beat Tottenham 2-0.
Wolfpack is back, cause of mass destruction.
Let me speak on this. Orale.
Arriba la raza.
For life, forever. Wolves beat up on Tottenham. I'm sorry to hear that. I was more frustrated because we talk about Tottenham women and Tottenham men's team, Liverpool women, Liverpool men, NWSL, all that good stuff. So it's this self-fulfilling jokey depression that I think some Spurs fans like to tweet about. It's just, make fun of yourself, poke at yourself. But I mean, Tottenham women were playing at the exact same time as Tottenham men lost 2-0. Excuse me. Tottenham women won 2-0 at the same exact time that Tottenham men lost. I don't see any tweets about it though. It's kind of a bummer. I think we need more folks tweet. And this happens in Liverpool. I'm not calling Tottenham supporters out. Every team does this, but it was kind of a bummer.
2-0 victory over Birmingham. I've been watching a lot of Peaky Blinders. So it's kind of.
I thought you were doing the Get Back. Did you finish Get Back yet?
No, I haven't.
You're never gonna watch it. I know you, Brian. You're never gonna watch it.
Probably not.
That's okay.
I did want to go see the one in IMAX.
They did the concert, right? And some of the behind the scenes footage, but mostly the concert. Yeah.
I'm cheap.
Speaking of debaters, let's talk about Liverpool. Liverpool men, they won against Leicester Leicester. This is also an episode about a lot of British pronunciations. Leicester to Leicester 2-0, and then Burnley, the fighting Sean Dyches, very frightening crowd and stadium, I would call Burnley.
That's a scary group right there. That's like I mean, we're not talking like Millwall level crazy, but that's
they definitely belong in the Millwall conversation and in the championship. They're in dead last, and Liverpool helped keep them there with the 1-0 victory. On the Liverpool women's side, though, was a good weekend. Beat Sunderland 3-0 off of Katie Stengel was involved in all three of the goals. She forced 2 penalty kicks, one in which she finished off. The second goal was, I think, a Leanne Kiernan shot that was assisted from Stengel. The third goal was a penalty kick that, again, Stengel was hacked down.
Stengel's kicking some ass over there, man.
Kicking some serious ass. So Liverpool is up, I think I want to say like 9 or 10 points. Now, second place London City has a game in hand, but Liverpool is up 10 points with about 6-7 matches left to go. It feels pretty good. I've won 14, have not lost in 14 straight league matches, and Rachel Laws has 10 clean sheets this season out of 15 matches.
Wow.
Yeah, so it feels like a pretty strong chance of them moving on. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm not going to jinx it. Their next 3 matches are against teams in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. So at the end of this run, at the end of 3 matches, if Liverpool keeps this run going of all these victories, I'm not a mathematician and I haven't done any calculations, but it sounds as if it'll be over.
I would certainly think so.
With only about 3 games left after that, if they're up 10 right now and one of those teams they beat, that's like what they call it, the 6-point swing, something like that. I think things could be hopefully locked up sooner rather than later. I don't need any drama. I just need them to win.
Save the drama for your mama.
Save it for the Super League next year. So Liverpool doing well all around. I'm sorry for one half of the Tottenhams. And also the Crew started preseason. Hey now.
Hey.
Crew, have 2 draws, one against Inter Miami FC and another one against Charlotte FC. Charlotte FC tried to kill the Crew in a preseason match, got 4 first half yellow cards, 1 within the first minute. I'm not talking about Ocean Avenue either. I'm talking about tackles.
There's a place on Ocean Avenue.
I used to sit in
Jacksonville, Florida's own Oceans Avenue.
That makes sense. And also us singing Ocean Avenue dates us very, very well.
If I could find you now.
Oh, that was when pop punk was really big and then it went away, but now pop punk is back. Anyway, Crew had a 0-0 draw. I thought it was a good draw. You played like 7 new people, a lot of young kids in the match until you brought in some established folks in the last 20 or 30 minutes. But I tweeted positive things from the Massive Report count, and people did not like it. Not at all. I had somebody like, what good things happened? And I was like, okay, well, here are 6 good things that happened. He was like, well, that's fair, but one of those things I don't agree with. And they got mad. One person wanted me to stop writing on the Massive Report Twitter account. This is preseason, folks. Like, if you stay healthy and your players get minutes, that's what preseason is about. It's not about winning games.
Guys. We need to
and
chill
it stressed the
here.
Guys. We got some bros upset that the Crew don't win it. This is not the BCS. This is not Ohio State football. You can lose games and still be okay.
It's freaking preseason.
Exactly.
I don't want to do.
You're about to get yourself blocked from a.
I'm gonna rub a little bit of salt in a wound here, but let me tell you how much preseason games matter. The Cleveland Browns.
Oh, I knew you were gonna go there. 2017.
The year they went 0-16, were 4-0 in the preseason. Best team in the league in the preseason. Eventually so the preseason, where I'm going with that is the preseason is completely meaningless. Like you said, if your players come out healthy, and given some of the reports from that match, it's a good thing that they did, because listen, Thomas, I live in a tough city. Okay, we don't play around here.
Oh, you live in the Mint City. Are you serious?
That's the way Charlotte does.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
We're a tough folk here.
We have to walk like 3 blocks to the local craft brewery. That's a trek, man.
I've got one It's a little more than 3 blocks, but
Oh
not
my
much more.
gosh, what a rough town.
I say as I'm
Oh,
wearing my Charlotte Hornets hat.
Buzz City.
Let's go, baby. But no,
It's
it's
preseason.
it's preseason, guys. And can we also and I don't look at the Twitter super often, but
I'm
I
so
took
jealous.
I took a break from work today and was like, I know what I'm having an annoying day at work. I know it'll make me feel better. Let me get on Twitter because I
Oh,
just hate myself. And
oh.
there's already people that are being negative about the kit, and the kit hasn't even freaking come out yet.
Stop the rebrand. Rebrand is stupid. This is
The
like,
the rebrand's here, guys. Like, if you don't want to, if you're gonna stop supporting the team or you're gonna stop, like, I get it, and I'm all for like fan led. Like, look, Save the Crew was a thing. Like the stuff that the Washington fans did with Spirit last year was selling the team. That was fan led. I get it. Like, tell the team you know you can express, but at some point you're gonna have to get over it. If you don't want to buy the gear, you don't buy the gear. That's your prerogative. I don't care. But at some point, nobody wants to hear your takes on the rebrand anymore. Like it's done. It's
there-
over.
I've said this a lot of times. There's a Save the Crew complex now. Everything has to get saved. Every crew thing has to get saved. If you don't like something, we got to save it. And people have used save the logo, save the like. Stop it, folks. Like I used to think that people calling out, and I'm not going to call out like all crew fans. I think it's just this loud
There's a
minority of
vocal
folks. It's the
minority,
vocal minority
absolutely.
of people who are complaining. Most people are great, and I mean, I know a lot of the folks. You know, a lot of the folks. They're great
Yeah,
people, and I
absolutely.
love spending time with them, hanging out with them, and stuff. But I don't feel the same way when I'm in crew Twitter than when I'm in like NWSL Twitter or
No.
any like there's feelings around these communities and gosh, it's exhausting sometimes. It's
Yeah,
exhausting. Like,
it's
I would trade a million Chicago Twitter communities sometimes for the Red Stars.
it's
I
just
just
it's a team where it feels like we didn't just win a championship a year and a half ago.
14 months ago. And
Yeah,
last
not
year, you would no fire the coach. This team is awful. Oh, you didn't win 2 preseason matches against an expansion side. Oh, you guys are. Oh, this is done. We're
and
finished. Like, shut up.
it's a 0-0 draw against an expansion side, and given I didn't watch the match, so I'm not, and you're not coming to
I
us for
watched it.
you're not coming to us for hard hitting analysis anyway. If you are, you're really in the wrong place. But it sounds like Charlotte wanted to make the game a slog. They wanted to make the game very physical. They were playing very physically. They were trying to slow the game down based on. I'm just going based on what I read, what people were saying.
From watching it and writing about it, I even put it in the recap article. I don't think like one of the one that led to a fight. I think there was some malice in it. I don't think a lot of the fouls were from malice. I think a lot of the fouls are just from players that aren't very good or players that are just really frustrated coming into a new environment, having to learn from other players, having to learn a whole new system, learning new teammates. And Charlotte just like they're going through the expansion was they weren't like other teams that had a USL team and they had an established at least some group of players who came in
Right.
together. Like even like they look worse than Cincinnati. That's
Oof.
bad. Like this is a expansion in every sense of the word. Think of 99 Cleveland Browns. That's who Charlotte is right now.
Well,
I think these fouls were just, hey, we're not a good team and we don't know really what we're doing yet. And some of these fouls happened.
yeah, I hope the team is better than Cincy has been because
You're
right
becoming a
now,
Charlotte FC fan slowly.
well,
Yeah.
no, but right now there's a lot of positivity like in
Yeah.
Charlotte about the team. Like I've just kind of walking around, I've seen a lot of like Charlotte FC gear, and
That's awesome.
I follow them on social media, and I've seen the reaction on social media and stuff to it, and a lot of local businesses, breweries, bars, and stuff seem to be like trying to get behind it and really trying to court that crowd. So, and as somebody that lives in Charlotte, I want that to do well. So I really hope they are better than that. Just because I live here and we'll probably go to a couple matches. So
Mm-hmm. No, I hope, good things mostly for the fans. I don't care about the front office. I hope the fans have a good product and they can enjoy it, and and they can have a good time and get behind their city, because that's ultimately what we try to do with sports, right? We want to enjoy a sport specifically, but then also enjoy the city and root for your town and get behind something. We all want something to get
It's a
behind.
civic pride thing. It's a
Yeah.
camaraderie thing. Yeah, it's a lot of things. Everybody except the one lady that tried to hit us in the parking lot at Sugar Creek Brewing.
Oh my gosh, she was on a mission, and I was on a mission. Oh my gosh, I gave that person a scowl. She didn't care. She didn't care. I passive aggressively won that one. Before we get into our interview, let's quick. I don't want to talk too much about this because we have such a great interview, and it's not worth our time to give this more lip service than it's already gotten. Molly Hensley Clancy, who has been rolling out all the stories minus the Meg Linehan bomb last year with Paul Riley. She's released all the Rory Dame stuff, a lot of the Richie Burke stuff in the last 6 months. So
Should we start calling her like the Grim Reaper or something? Like every
if
time
Molly's writing about you, not a good day.
I feel like it's like, Yahoo Sports from about the mid 2000s, where they seem to be the one that was breaking like every bad thing in sports. It's like
Yeah.
if Yahoo Sports is talking about you, it's a bad thing. So yeah, if Molly's tweeting about you right now, just
No,
yeah.
not good. She tweeted out today that she confirmed that the Red Stars' current interim coach, Ray Tanaskovic, is still an employee of a youth soccer club owned by Rory Dames. We had a whole episode last week where most of it was talking about this. You know our stance. We support the players. We support them in their endeavors and their entrepreneurial things that they do, and they're trying to make it in this world just like we are. We support the players 110%. But continually talking about Arnhem and talking about the complete mismanagement of the Chicago Red Stars, it feels like the mob. It feels like a local run mob with Rory and Arnhem. Arnhem lets Rory go. Arnhem's like, oh, who cares what's happening? I'm still owning the team. He sends out a makeshift apology, one of the worst apologies you're going to see in the world of sports. And then this news today, I'm just tired.
Yeah, yeah. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really gotten to a point where I know we've talked about like we won't support the team or talk about the team until Arnhem really has sold the team. I'm getting to a point where I'm even like, even if he does, it's like, do I really want to give them my support after that? Like I'm really starting to get to that point where it's just like, I can respect the players, support the players, but it's like they're going to have to do a lot to repair a lot of trust and a lot of, for lack of a better word, hurt feelings over. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but I think it's going to be really hard for a lot of fans to trust them and to want to support that organization, even with or without Arnhem. Well, especially with him, but even without him, I think there's going to be some people that are going to say, you know what, I've been burned too many times by this organization, by the rot in this organization. Maybe some people go elsewhere. I mean, I don't know, but like you said, I'm sick of. I wish we could just talk about what's going on the pitch, but.
Even if we talk about what was going on the pitch, if we were to talk just about management of day-to-day operations, ignoring the Rory stuff, ignoring this interim coach and everything, it is a month or so from the season, the Challenge Cup starting, and the Red Stars are the only team that haven't hired a permanent head coach. So even if we were looking at just on the field, they're not doing well there either.
It's a disaster. Yeah.
It's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on. And the more we learn, the more you just kind of, you get the chills. You're just like, what? Oh, I feel gross even. I don't want it to get, it's not going to get to the point where I'm going to totally give up on the league. but maybe it does. Maybe one point, if the league's not stepping in, if stuff is still happening in the NWSL, like we'll talk a lot about it too with Bekki about Christy Holly and Louisville situation. I think trying to be an American sports league should not be the goal. I think you should have higher goals as a sports league than to become the next NFL. MLS has tried to be the NFL for years, and it alienates people and it pushes people away. You bring in people, but you lose a lot of folks too. And I think the NWSL could be different. It just doesn't feel like it's going down that road.
Yeah.
But
let's move on to something a lot more fun, a lot more happy. We don't want to bring you down too much because this interview coming up with Bekki is fantastic. She was a really good guest, one of the best guests I think we've had in quite a while, and really fun conversation talking to her.
Yeah, so let's jump into this interview with London, Kentucky, former resident. I'm just kidding. It was London, England. Bekki Morgan. Folks, we have got ourselves a great guest tonight. You will find her articles on the Beautiful Game Network, her voice on Butchertown Rundown podcast, brand new podcast, by the way, and at the bar picking up everyone's tab around greater Louisville area. She's Bekki Morgan. She covers pretty much all things Racing Louisville FC. Not only is this somebody I've wanted to talk to off of social media, but someone that is also kicking off our little mini series of interviews previewing various NWSL teams from content creators that really cover these teams forwards and backwards. So I was really pumped. You're the first person I asked. I was like, yes, I want Bekki on the show because I think Louisville is extremely interesting and I love the work that you do. So Bekki, first, thank you so much for lowering your journalistic integrity to join our sham of a podcast. Welcome.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm a sham of a journalist, so I fit right in.
Hey, I'm right there with you, I guess. So. Oh boy. Well, welcome.
So we'll start off with our usual starter question. So I'm a comic book nerd, and every superhero kind of has their origin story. You know, Peter Parker with the radioactive spider turns into Spider-Man. Batman's parents died. He became Batman eventually. What is your kind of soccer superhero origin story? Like, how did you start following the sport? How'd you get into covering Racing Louisville?
Well, I am old enough that the 1999 World Cup was like a huge pivotal moment for me. I have this like really weird, clear memory of sitting in my dentist's office and seeing Brandy Chastain and Mia Hamm on like every magazine cover like a couple days afterwards and being like, oh my God, like something major has changed here. And so from then on, I've pretty much followed the national team, the women's national team, closely. I played soccer as a kid, but I never even knew it was like a sport you could watch.
Yeah.
So, you know, that moment in 1999 just like changed everything. And I think that's true of a lot of people my age. And then I got into the NWSL a little later. I was mainly just following international soccer. And then after following it kind of lately for a few years, not really having a team, just kind of liking the league, Louisville was announced. And like of all the cities in the world, did not expect Louisville to be announced. And I'm not originally from Louisville. I've lived there for about 5 years now. I live in Lexington, about an hour away. But I don't know. I couldn't believe it. So I was going to be a fan of that team no matter what. But after watching that very first Challenge Cup game, which for a lot of people was like our first crowd experience during the pandemic, like we were finally back and people were cheering and it was insanity and it was a good game. And we drew Orlando and everybody thought we would just like the floor would be wiped with us, that we'd be this like pathetic team that couldn't even show up. I was just like, I need to do more than just being a fan. And it kind of fell in my lap through my friend Benton Newman that he was looking for someone to kind of take over his writing on the Beautiful Game Network. And I said, what the heck? And here I am. So
nice.
That's fantastic. I did not know that this was like your first year jumping into it, because like reading your articles and the work that you do, it doesn't feel like that at all. That's crazy.
Oh, I appreciate that because I have no idea what I'm doing. Last May I literally like jumped into it head first. Like, well, I guess this is something I'm doing now. So,
Oh, that's well, imposter syndrome. We talked about that a little bit with Sarah Spain. Every time that I post an article, every time I finish an article and I tell my editor about it on the sites I write for, I'm just thinking in my head, they're gonna hate this. Why? They're gonna be like, why is he even writing every single time? So I know how you feel, and the imposter syndrome is real. Real quick, who did you said you watched like internationally? Were you talking about like USA international, or did you watch like other soccer to fill the void until NWSL and especially Racing Louisville came in?
really, just the national team. I mean, I have followed women's soccer in the national team level for a while, but I did not become a super fan until 2015, 2016-ish. And then I jumped into the NWSL around then too. It just wasn't, I lived in Philly most of my life and was a Phillies fan. So I watched baseball in like 2008 in the World Series and everything during that height. That was more what took my attention. But after that, I don't know, like soccer just slowly took over more and more of my interest. And then now I'm clearly very devoted to it. But yeah.
That sounds like us, Bryant. That sounds
I was
like
going to say it's basically the same story as both of us. I hear the I think the most common answer we've gotten to that question is the 99 women's national team.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like history making. It's insane. Yeah. And even that 15-16, that's the Vancouver, or that's the Canada.
That was
World
the
Cup?
Canada one, yeah.
Whenever Japan, that was fun. That was fun. Well, let's move in. Let's go back to the now and back to Racing Louisville. We're going to get your prediction for the season later on. That's called a tease, everybody. But first, the team has made a lot of change since that first. I was at that first Challenge Cup match. I was covering it, which was my first NWSL game ever. Was that match, and it was like you said, the atmosphere was fantastic. But and then that late Brooke Hendricks game tying goal that just set the whole place into like a firestorm. It was insane. But since then, the team has changed so much. Like even last year, it seemed like sure the team was finished and there was enough players to be on the roster, but every month it was like, let's bring in Liverpool legend Gemma Bonner, let's bring in Ebony Salmon, let's bring in Nadia Nadeem. They were just never done. And then you have the Christy Holly thing, which we'll go into a little bit later. He was removed. And then this offseason Racing, you got rid of McCaskill, you got rid of Michelle Betos, your first year leaders, you add Jess Mcdonald, and then you add Jalen Howell in the NWSL draft. So kind of a big offseason. So my question with all of that setup, how much are you going to miss Yuki Nagasato on a scale of 1 to dad ass? How much are you going to miss it, Yuki?
Oh, well, I mean, the answer is always dad ass. But
okay.
At the same time, though, like nothing makes me happier than a player going where they want to play.
Right.
So as happy as I am that we had Yuki for a year, I'm even happier that the team was able to say, oh, I love that I'm seeing a painting by Yuki, and it's amazing.
That was a gift I got Bryant for our 1-year podiversary. That was a gift for him.
It's amazing. But I mean, the fact that the team let her easily go back to Chicago, I think is a great sign for me from the front office. And I would much rather see that than a player unhappy playing for us.
Yeah.
I mean, she even said she wasn't thinking about leaving Louisville until she got, engaged. It wasn't like she was fleeing the team or anything. So, I mean, it's happy all around. It's good news for everybody. So it's sad, but it's good.
Yeah, we missed her like crazy. So I'm glad she's headed back to Chicago. We're big Yuki fans on this show.
For sure.
So Thomas mentioned some of the names that have kind of been a rotating door, people in, people out. Which one or two players are you specifically really excited to see? Whether that's people you added last year, people you added, have added so far this year for 2022. Who are you really excited to watch?
I mean, I think the most obvious big answers are Jalen Howell and Jessica Mcdonald. I've been a big Jalen Howell fan for a long time, watching her at FSU, and never thought we would draft her. I mean, I didn't think that there was any chance that she wasn't going to go first. No disrespect to Naomi Girma, who is phenomenal. It's just a 6 that plays as well in the 6th position as Jalen Howell is a rare thing, especially in the women's game, and you kind of want to snatch that up. So the fact that they didn't, I mean, thank you, San Diego. I am thrilled with that. And, you know, it's funny because Jalen and FSU actually attended a game in Louisville, and it was like the worst game we ever played. It was a Houston game. We lost 0-4, and like players cried on the field afterwards. And I'm like, well, we're never getting hurt here.
Like it's a recruiting trip that went wrong.
And they were like, welcome FSU. And they showed like Jalen Howell and Emily Madrill and a few people like in the stands. But hey, maybe they looked at it and said, hey, this is a team I can really do something on. So
because you play Racing played them last preseason, right? I remember them playing them in the run up to 2021. And I was just as shocked as you to see Howell not go first. And maybe that's to you talked about with Yuki, and San Diego has talked about this. They're not bringing in players who don't want to be there. So maybe that was part of it. I don't know, but yeah, that was a heck of a that was like a time will tell, and maybe this is setting a bar too high, but that was like a Jordan-esque drop, like somebody with that much potential not going where they should have in the draft.
And let us not forget defending national champion Jalen Howell.
Right, as a Seminole.
I'm a Florida State grad, so I have to get excited when I can.
Oh, right. So there are a lot of big things happening with the team. The biggest change, though, I know Betos leaving and McCaskill, you can kind of justify that because you brought a team together. You had an expansion draft. You had some leadership there, but you brought in like Bonner and Nadeem are huge leaders. Like they've been captains pretty much wherever they've gone. You have leadership on the team. But the big change last year was kind of lost in everything else that happened last year with Paul Riley and Rory Dames. Like one of the quieter exits, I think, and maybe it was much louder for you because you're in the Louisville area and you're in the Louisville scene, was Christy Holly kind of being fired, let go. It was one of those, actually, I remember we were recording a podcast. We finished recording, and then like at 10 o'clock at night, Louisville's like, oh, we fired Christy Holly too. And then that was it. And then it kind of went away. So we're in the thick of it right now with Chicago, and we don't really feel like ownership is doing very well. Arnhem especially is not doing well at all. How would you kind of grade how Louisville has done with their situation with Christy Holly?
So I give them a D for hiring him in the first place. Mm-hmm. But from what I've heard from multiple people, including many players, is I do give them an A for how they handled his firing. Mm-hmm. He was horrible. He hurt people. I don't know exactly what happened. I have no idea. I don't want to know because the players will say so when they want to say so. And I'm not going to push them to reveal something they don't want to reveal. But from players and the front office, I heard that within 40 hours of them finding out what happened, he was fired. Oh, wow. And some of that delay was with talking to the league and having the league drag their feet and being like, well, we need to think, or not think about this, but like there are processes to follow. They had zero tolerance for whatever misconduct happened and kicked him out immediately. And even more so, what makes me even happier is that all the players have said that the front office was very responsive, had one-on-one meetings with all the players, asked them what they could do, what they could change, involved them pretty heavily in the coach hiring process, and made some distinct changes. So I think they handled the mistake of their own making well. And if you don't hear as much about Christy Holly as everything else, it's because Racing didn't let it drag out. Yeah. We heard things after the fact more about how bad things were for people like Jorian Baucom and Vanessa Cara, who didn't get many minutes, but she talked about how there's no communication and Holly just was a bad person basically. But even they said that once he was gone, things were better. And so, yeah, I hope that the team does not repeat this mistake. I can forgive them once if they handled it well. I don't know if I'll forgive it that well if things linger on or if this happens again, Yep. So I think they handled a bad situation well, but I'm still forever bitter and annoyed that it happened in the first place.
Yeah, as even in his past stop at Sky Blue, there were issues there. I mean, with I think fraudulent visas was part of it. Also, different relationships and whatnot that Holly had on the team. That was, like you said, a D for hiring him. Yeah, that was bad. That was not good.
The visa stuff came out after he was hired, and that's a little more complicated and involves Sky Blue's ownership too. I mean, let's not forget that, or Gotham's still ownership too. But still, I mean, I think Racing's ownership were all focused on the USL and Blue City, and they didn't really know anything about women's soccer and thought that they could just go in and, hey, here's a guy who has experience in the NWSL and the national team, so he's obviously a great choice, and had none of that insider knowledge, and were just kind of naive and dim and probably thought they were smarter for doing it than they were. I mean, there's a lot of things that are known in the WOSO women's soccer world from people that follow it that aren't known outside of it. And that's not giving them a pass. I think that they should have made sure that they hired people who were more familiar with the women's soccer world and culture, and not just assumed it was as similar to men's soccer in the USL. But so again, I mean, I'm not making excuses for them. I think that's where their blindness lay. But when push came to shove, they definitely responded.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That kind of sounds like it too. But for the bad stuff, like you said, learning the league, that comes over time. I don't know, as horrible as last year was, talk about lessening the learning curve. I think a lot of people learned a lot of things. Like you mentioned, the WOSO community, we kind of joined it in 2020. We joined it at the start of the Challenge Cup, and over the last almost 2 years, you learn a lot, and you're not learning it from ESPN. You're not learning it from that. You're learning it from reporters that are writing now for like The Athletic and stuff. You have Steph and Megs of the world, but you also have just conversations from supporters groups and these things going on Twitter where we're seeing these like, is this real? And then you see a lot of people confirm it. Then it eventually makes its way into an article. It makes its way into the huge stuff that has been broken by the Post over the last few weeks, few months. It's pretty crazy. But like you said, all the bad things that Louisville's done, just from an outsider looking in, I mean, they have the best team specific stadium in the league. I would say, like, even I know Portland has the great environment and all that stuff, but I can't get over, maybe it's the MLS and me getting over the whole baseball stadium turned soccer stadium. I can't get over it. And going to Louisville, it's a fantastic stadium, and it really does wonders, I think, for the team, both teams. And then you have a new training center. They've invested into the USLW League, getting an amateur team to play this year already. So hopefully, like you said, it's learning curve and they can move on from it. But somebody who they hired, Kim Bjorkgren. I'm not going to say his name right.
Bjorkgren.
Bjorkgren. Okay, that's what I was trying to skip too many because I didn't ask our native Holland interpreter. We have one for the podcast. I didn't ask Mike this time around. How do you think that hiring kind of went with the players being involved in it and on the field? Because we are talking about soccer too. What do you think he brings to Racing Louisville?
Well, I was lucky enough to go see the team's first intra-squad scrimmage. So I actually got to see him a little bit out in the field and coaching players. And one, he is a gigantic man. I think he's easily 6'7". I mean, he is, They couldn't even buy him like matching warm-up clothes as the other coaches. They're like a different color because he's so gigantic. That was my first impression of him. My second impression of him was so you see a lot of coaches, particularly male coaches in women's sports, who grab their female players by the shoulders and like talk very earnestly at them and get kind of in their face. And it's like the passion of the game and everything like that. And nobody likes that. I mean, maybe if you build up a relationship or something like that, no one wants to be like grabbed and like talked at really loudly or yelled at, even if it's like not mean yelling. I don't know if I'm articulating this well, but he stayed solidly like 6 feet apart from every single player, actually gave them really detailed technical advice. Like, we actually sat and talked with like Ebony Salmon about foot movement and foot placement, and had give and takes with the relationships that I've not seen when I've gone to other games and seen coaches interact with their players. He has really deliberate plans for how he's going to build up the team and their skill set. We're going to start here, and then we're going to add these players in. We're going to start putting the wingers in, and then we're going to bring the back line and involve them. So, I mean, he actually has a solid plan for doing things, and seems to actually understand what it's like to be a coach and an instructor at the same point, which is critical for a young team. All the players have talked about how good he is for development already, how they really feel like in terms of like the 1% that you need to get over the edge, you know, when it comes to like the little, you know, every talent and skill will get you a certain point, but you know, the real difference makers is that final 1%, and that he's good about helping them get to that point. They also changed a lot of staff under him, even though it hasn't been announced yet. I mean, different people just moved on to different jobs. They brought some new people in, like the new high performance person came from England, and they love her. They absolutely love her. And I think we're going to get another assistant coach in. But in general, I mean, it seems like a really positive change. If you listen to the players talk, they seem to really, really, really be pleased with him and the vibe that he has brought to the team. So I couldn't ask for more than that. I mean, I would rather have him be a good person that they trust and like, and not a great coach who maybe we end up separating with because we don't win games, than be a winning coach who is a bad person. So,
yeah, I think there's,
couldn't agree more. Given the situation we've been through,
there's definitely been a type of coach hired in the NWSL, and I think finally, and I think you could even put this into others in any other sport, men's or women's. I think we always kind of neglect, okay, how well is the coach going to win? But now seeing that all the stuff that goes behind the scenes, maybe we should care a lot more about the person that you bring in and not just the performance on the field.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, a big part of me was wanting a female coach and, you know, hire a former player and, you know, start building up those ranks. And when they first announced him, I was a little disappointed, but ultimately, like, the players made this decision. And, you know, I don't know if they 100% made the decision, but there were about 5 of them involved in the actual interview process. But I've heard from multiple people that all the other players were able to submit their opinion and, you know, get information and say what they thought. And I'm sure the front office made the final decision, but I mean, he was almost the universal choice from the players. So I can't complain about that.
Yeah.
And one reason they have the W League team is because they want to start potentially bringing in, you know, training coaches at that level and then bring them up as assistant coaches to the main team and then possibly be head coaches and create a coaching pipeline as much as a player pipeline. So, you know, I'm excited by that potential too.
Awesome.
That's cool that they're I think investing in that kind of infrastructure. Like, I don't think we're seeing that much. It's becoming more of a thing in MLS. Like, obviously you've got Crew 2 now, Electric Boogaloo, and you've got some of these other teams that have got you know, some kind of that are investing in lower level teams, but you haven't really seen it much on the women's side. So seeing that, I think is a cool. I think it's cool, and it bodes well for the sport moving forward and for the league moving forward, that hopefully other teams will kind of follow in that and invest in maybe a lower level team to, you know, give some of those players some playing time, have them in their system, but also, like you said, the coaches, like give this coaching talent, give some more people who may not have gotten a shot otherwise, and having them be a part of an organization, like a big organization, like not just an organization that's, you know, a smaller independent team, whatever, but they're a part of a larger whole. They can learn from experienced coaches at that upper tier level. Like, they can get that maybe some of that mentoring, some of that coaching, coaching advice and things. And that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited by the W League team and what it implies for how serious racing is for the future. And I was told before it was announced that in 10 years, whether the NWSL collapses or not and another league takes its place, there will be a professional women's team playing in Louisville. That is how dedicated the ownership is to maintaining and supporting this team. And everything they've done, in their investments so far has made me believe that's true. So it's exciting.
That's awesome to hear. All right. So one of the members of the BAM fam, Alex, is it Dumas? I'm sure
depends on how well his question is, and then we might go a little further.
I know Alex.
I'm sure it's not dumbass.
He did wear a Washington Spirit shirt to the final, but he pleaded that there was a racing shirt underneath it touching his skin, so it wasn't like I didn't want maybe burn his skin, but he is a racing fan.
So what we've got on our hands really, it sounds like, is a troll.
Yeah, he's a
troll. That's fair enough. All right. So Alex is a big racing fan. Wanted to remind everyone how Chicago lost 3-0 to Louisville last year, which rude. Question's inappropriate, but does turn into you having a story, Bekki. So what's your tale with that outlier of a match?
Oh, you never beat us, I don't think. Last season, didn't we only play you twice and we drew each other?
One was a draw. One
was a draw.
One was a loss.
But it led to us winning the Women's Cup championship, though.
But in the history books of the NWSL, that was a draw.
Okay, then it was
extra time and penalty kicks. That was the Women's Cup, which was not the NWSL.
Okay, fine. I'll take that. But no, that Chicago game, I went to Chicago that weekend and was like, yeah, this is going to be a great, easy trip. Got stuck in about 3 tornadoes and didn't actually get to see the game. I stayed in the city and it poured the entire time. It absolutely downpoured to the point that I stepped badly and slipped and actually really hurt my knee, so I also couldn't walk well. So it was just a disaster of a weekend. And then drove west to see some Frank Lloyd Wright architecture in the suburbs before the game, and then also drove myself directly into the line of storms that was forming tornadoes. And so the streets flooded so badly that we couldn't drive. We got stuck in a Marshall's for an hour with water that was starting to flood in the door. And by the time we actually got to the stadium, they were like, no, the game's delayed by 3 hours. And we're like, well, screw this. We're driving back to Louisville. And then also drove with the storms into Indiana. So as we're driving, we just kept getting little alarms on our phone saying shelter in place, shelter in place. And we're like, no, we're just going to keep driving. So it was a disaster. But once we got into Indiana, we kept getting alerts for the game that said that we were winning, and that made it all better. So
I went to that at the beginning of the season, and when they released the schedule a day before the season starts, I went through and I was like, oh, there are certain matches I want to go cover, and one of them was Chicago Louisville, because I was like, hey, this is a 2:00 match. It's what, 6 or 7 hours from here, Bryant, I would say.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah,
6 or 7 hours. So I'm like, okay, I'll leave early, go to the match, leave around 5 after I write an article, do the press conference, and get home around 11ish, 10 or 11. No, I got there and it was delayed for 3 hours. I didn't get flooded in a Marshall's or break my knee or anything like that. So that you're definitely one-upping my story. Well, not one-upping because you started it. So I'm one downing your story with mine. But I sat there for the whole rain delay. And the one bright spot, I was there covering it for the site I used to write for. So I was there as an impartial journalist. They didn't give me a spot in the press booth. Actually, I didn't have a name anywhere. I just stole someone from the Equalizer spot because he wasn't there. The only bright spot was seeing Yuki and Savannah scoring their only goals of the season against Chicago and Chicago.
No, McCaskill and Yuki. Well, Savannah scored another one. Yuki scored in the Women's Cup that doesn't matter in the NWSL. But
was it in the game against Bayern, right? Or that you play? Yeah, yes. You played Bayern, and then had the amazing. why did I forget her name? I know her name. The goalkeeper who scored, Katie
Katie
Lund.
Lund.
Yeah, Katie Lund.
Katie.
I did watch that one. That was
Oh, that's
fantastic.
right.
She comes
Yeah,
in
yeah.
for Betos gets hurt. Katie Lund's music plays and the glass shatters, and she comes in and she starts saving every PK and then goes up and kicks the game-winning PK. Like, how baller of that is for your first professional soccer game, pretty much. Like, she had been
Ever. Yeah, it was her first minutes.
First minutes, and she's going out there power bombing the Bayern Munich women's team. That was fantastic. That was good TV watching.
If that had been me, I would have quit. Like right then and there. It's like, all right, did this. Nothing I ever do is ever going to top this. I'm done.
I mean, seriously, I talk about Betos. Like, you could definitely see when it was like, okay, well, maybe the writing's on the wall. Maybe Katie Lund is the future of the team and stuff. Although Betos was, she was amazing. She has such a great like leadership and personality. And I interviewed her for a story, and she was fantastic. But yeah.
No, I adore Betos. I miss her horribly, but I mean, yeah, it's hard. I think that's going to be one of the biggest question marks of the team going into the new season, how that impacts us. I definitely think Katie is great and can be a starting goalkeeper. And I think that Racing kind of just decided that, hey, we're bringing in all these rookies. We just want to start with a very young team and develop it and build it for the future. And that included the goalkeepers. And they have a really, really, really good goalkeeper coach.
Yeah.
Sergio Gonzalez, the Katie Lund said is the best coach she's ever had in her life. And
wow,
I've just heard high marks from him from other people. So I think they thought like, hey, well, we have this coach that's known for developing goalkeepers. We better start developing goalkeepers.
Yeah.
And her contract was up. They didn't waive her. They just didn't renew.
Yeah, right. That's
the
true.
contract.
That's true.
A lot of people said, no, we waived her. We got rid of her. And it's like, no, we just didn't renew the contract. I still am not sure that was the best decision, but you know what? We'll find out in 2022. So,
I mean, she had so many great saves. Like everyone's like, oh, she leads the league in saves, but there are other reasons why you have to lead the league in saves too. So I don't think yeah.
Kind of like
anyway.
in football when you've got a cornerback or a safety that leads the team in tackles. It's like
that's good, but is it good?
Those are great tackles, and we need all of them. But you probably shouldn't have to make that many. All right, so we have to make this official. We said this in the last podcast. We need to reiterate before we ask this question. We are supporters of Chicago professional women's soccer players, but we do not support the Red Stars, front office, whatever. A friend of ours in the BAM fam, frenemy, nemesis, Frank Barker, he had a question for you before we get into our no holds barred Ask BAM segment. As a Red Stars fan who refuses to support the team until Arnhem sells, I'm choosing between Louisville and KC to support, which Bryant and Me, we are not doing this, just distancing ourselves from this question. Why should I choose Louisville? And for anybody, really. If you're new to the NWSL, I mean, the championship last year, I brought 4 people who had never been to an NWSL game in their life. Why should somebody who's maybe listening and isn't following the league, why should they choose Louisville?
Well, I mean, I would say that KC is also a good choice because they would probably be my second team that I support. One, because they've been very scandal-free in a lot of ways, except for maybe the most recent Rachel Horsey thing that happened and the way they got rid of her. But I mean, the main reason I would support Racing is because they did take care of their problem. They got rid of Christy Holly. They actually fired him and didn't let the issue linger. So I think that gives me a lot of hope for the team in the future. On top of that, it's a young, exciting team that's building for the future. KC has gotten rid of some of their young talent in order to bring like Sam Mewis and Lynn Williams in, and that's excellent. And maybe that'll pay off for them now. But Racing might not be great this year, but they're building to be really good the next year with players like Parker Goins, Christian Davis, Jalen Howell, Emily Fox. They're only going to get better. And I think the fact that Racing is investing in a real foundation of a team means that it's going to pay off a lot in the future instead of trying to reap fast rewards. Yeah. So, and also they're just fun. Last year, we didn't have a great record. We were 9th out of 10th, but I've not met anybody who said watching Racing games wasn't at least fun. they were an exciting team. They fought hard. They kept playing no matter what, even if the results weren't great. But, they're just an exciting team to watch. And games at the stadium are a whole lot of fun. It is a wonderful stadium. So, yeah, not like I'm biased or anything. But
I'm gonna make one more additional case for Louisville over KC.
Ooh.
Got salespeople over here.
And this is something we've talked about a little bit on the show. Other than until San Diego decided to join the league, they had the best logo in my opinion in the league. Now that San Diego logo is a thing of beauty, but
I do love it. Yeah.
And then their kits are easily the best in the league.
You love or hate Racing's kits. People despise them. I mean, I'm sure you've seen like Vera Bradley FC and like Nursing Scrubs FC and all those names. I love the fact that they went really bold. I love the fact that it's roses and lilies, which like is for the Oaks and the Derby, and that it's butterflies and bees from Muhammad Ali. It's so unique, and they're so immediately recognizable. Like you see just a flash of a game and you're like, oh, that's Racing playing.
Right.
Yeah.
The color, that. I don't know what we call that color. I don't know if that's like periwinkle, lavender.
It's lavender, yeah.
Lavender. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Although periwinkle's a fun word to say.
It is. It is.
Periwinkle
is a little bluer, but
yeah. I'm not good at the color, like the spectrum of like everything is very Roy G. Biv to me. If it's anything past that, I'm like purple-ish. So I would put that for. No, I bought a Yuki jersey actually. They look so nice, but I did not because she ended up leaving.
That's a game my wife and I play to try and learn kind of the secondary colors. Is when we're driving around town, we'll look at cars and try and decide like what color they are. It's like, is that teal or is that I don't know,
seafoam,
cerulean. Or whatever random shade of blue, green, orange, whatever we can think of.
It's a perfect segue into our color segment where we just talk about colors because it works great on an audio podcast. What is this color? I'm just kidding. No, I'm horrible. And Brian and Alyssa, you are all much more artistic than me in that regard.
Well, it helps when you're married to somebody that minored in art in college.
That's true.
So I've got some exposure to it. So we'll kind of move on to a little bit more of kind of the rapid fire. We call it kind of the Ask Bam segment, kind of the rapid fire. These are questions. Some of them are Louisville specific. Some are just
nothing
general,
specific.
Have nothing to do with anything. So usually we'll all answer these. We probably won't give too much of an answer if it's Louisville specific, but these don't really require any kind of super long, elaborate answer unless you want to. It's kind of a little more kind of rapid fire. And most of these, we call this the Frank Barber Memorial Ask Bam segment, sponsored by Tang.
Yeah.
Or we're sponsored by Dunkaroos this week, right?
Dunkaroos, yeah. Dunkaroos is our sponsor this week, although we are still ad-free since 93.
So Frank first off asks, what's the best fast food dessert?
Am I going first?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably a really boring answer, but I love McDonald's hot fudge sundae because you cannot like get hot fudge sundaes like anywhere anymore. So I enjoy that.
That's a strong answer.
That's a baller choice. I'm gonna stick with the same restaurant, but the ice cream machine is gonna be broken anytime you go. So mine is the 2 apple pies for $1. 2 apple pies for $1 is my go-to, and I haven't had them. My oldest child is 12 in over 12 years, but I still remember when I was living, more paycheck to paycheck, like, okay, apple pies, that sounds great. And I would go with my $1. Every once in a while they wouldn't have them, but the apple pies at McDonald's.
I'm gonna go a little bit off the beaten path here. And I don't think most people know this, but Popeyes has desserts. And one of the desserts they have is a chocolate filled beignet.
Really?
And it's phenomenal.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. And then we like randomly, we were on a road trip out to my sister-in-law's and randomly stopped at a Popeyes. And I was like, they have beignets? I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. And it was phenomenal.
Love that chicken from Popeyes. Dang. What's the one place? Oh my gosh. I went there like 3 times when I went to your house in Charlotte. I forget the name of it. It's only in the South. Oh my gosh. What's the name of the
Bojangles?
Bojangles. I think there's some more. Do they have any in Louisville in Kentucky? They have Bojangles in Kentucky.
I don't think so. Kentucky's just a little too north, but maybe more in the South. I don't think there are any in Louisville, but I've been to Bojangles. I spent a lot of time in North Carolina. So
okay. So the Berry Bo biscuit is also really good, but every biscuit they do there is good. But they do have dessert like biscuits there. I think we got one whenever I brought them over to your place, Brian.
Yeah, because I think I got the pimento cheese biscuit and then the
have mercy, the spicy chicken biscuit. Okay, I'm hungry. Let's move on to the next question.
If you could choose this is also from Frank. If you could choose one place to get drunk and pass out with no repercussions whatsoever, what would you choose? His options are either the Science and History Museum in Chicago or a candy store.
Oh, Frank. Brian, do you have an answer for this one?
No. Like I've thought about this. I mean, a candy store is a really strong answer.
Right.
I was thinking like that or like a really good like a Walmart or a Target or something, and I would go play video games. Like
I was actually thinking even more pathetically that I'm old now and I would want to have direct access to pain medicine and the Pedialyte and like a bed to lay in or like a futon. So like pretty much everything you need would be at like a mega Walmart or Target. So
that's smart.
Yeah, we need to surround ourselves with more smart people, less Franks, more Beckys in our life. I'm going to go less practical and more adventurous. I'm going to say the Book Loft in Columbus. Beck, have you been to the greater Columbus area?
No, I haven't actually.
Well, they have this place called the Book Loft. It's in the German Village. It's all these really kind of older houses. It's a really nice area, kind of chic area of Columbus. But they have this old house that is now the Book Loft. It has 40 rooms of books. When it says room, some of them are like a little nook. But it's an old house that is just like you have to wait for people to pass because you can't have 2 people walking in the hallway at the same time. There are all these books in there. I would want to be in there. 1, because when I wake up, if I want to like read a book or something, I can just chill and read a book. And 2, that place is probably haunted. And I feel like that would be an awesome story to say the Book Loft was haunted. And I'd be like in Ghostbusters 1 when the books go across the aisles. I would want to see something like that. And I think the Book Loft would give it to me.
I don't think I'd want to face a ghost. Like
I hate horror movies. I hate horror movies, but I would wake up thinking, God, am I dreaming this? Is this a drunken haze or is this a real thing? And I would tell people and they'd be like, okay, drunkie. And no one would believe me, but I would have a lot of fun.
Solid.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Another one from Frank here. Would you make a better, I know, again, there's a reason we call it the Frank Barber Memorial Ask Bam segment, sponsored this week by Dunkaroos. Would you make a better GM or a better coach for your team?
Do I have to pick one, or because I'd be better than neither of them?
You have to pick one.
I mean, Racing doesn't have a GM, so I would be a better GM because there's nothing to compare myself to. They have a president instead. But I definitely would not be a better coach. I would have no idea what to tell them.
I could see like the GM, like, really like the goal, I think, of a good GM is you just hire a bunch of really smart people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like most good GMs, like that's really why they're good GMs in any sport. So yeah, I mean, I think if you hire like a coach that really knows what they're looking for and really all you got to do is manage the money, I feel like I could figure that out. Yeah, I'd be lost as coach. I'd be like, yeah, run that way. Hey,
your goal's over there.
Listen, the goal of this game is to put the ball into the net.
Go do it. This question I wasn't sure until you brought up Kim telling Ebony Salmon, okay, move this foot that way and do the footwork a different way. I'll do GM. I can delegate with the best of them, but I don't think I could tell people down to the granular detail of, okay, try this that way. I would be, yeah, like I said, imposter syndrome. I would tell players something in my head. I think, oh God, that does not sound right. That's what I would feel every single day.
So these few questions here are a little more Louisville specific. What sections of Lynn Family Stadium are the best places to experience the games?
All of them. It's really a stadium that does not have a bad view. There's a bar practically within arm's reach, no matter where you go. And there's like bourbon slushies and margaritas and a variety of drinks. You know, a lot of stadiums are just like a couple beers, but no, like there's full bars. Like you can get shots at Lynn Family Stadium.
Where was the bourbon slushies at? I've been there
there's
3 times. I've never had one.
So do you know where the Four Roses bar is? It's right kind of on the other side of it. It's right near Four Pegs.
Oh, okay.
One of the barbecue places. On almost the exact opposite of where the huge bar with the screen on top of it is.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's
on the other side of the stadium from that.
The Estopanel end. Okay.
It's near the Estopanel end. Yeah. I mean, I love being in the Estopanel end. My seats are to the left of the Estopanel end, but I still go to the Estopanel end a lot. But I've sat on pretty much every area of the stadium just because my seats have moved around with like the Challenge Cup and like distancing from COVID. And then, getting tickets to the NWSL final in a completely different place. And there's not a bad seat in the house. If it's a sunny game, you do not really want to be on the east side of the stadium because the sun kills you. But and that's why it looks fairly empty during broadcast because everybody knows not to sit directly in the sun. The other side of the stadium is packed, and then where it's actually showing on TV is like 1/3 full at best. So people are like, no, there's no way there's that many people in the stadium. No, trust me, if the camera turned around, it would be jam-packed. But still, there's not a bad view. It's incredible everywhere. It's really an ingeniously designed stadium. I love it.
I'd like the Estopanel. Oh, go ahead, Brian. After you.
I was just gonna say for a home field advantage, I kind of feel like if for day games, if nobody really wants to sit on the east side of the stadium, that's where you should put the away fans. Like kind of stick it to them. Like, hey, you came here from you're a Gotham fan, like Robbie. Like let's get Robbie a little sunburnt.
Oh gosh, Robbie didn't ask any questions this week.
That's jacked up, Robbie. I'm disappointed in you.
I thought you cared about us.
And so the stadium has barbecue and bourbon available at all times.
Yes, and pretty much every other type of liquor and multiple different types of beer, canned and draft. It's like the adult stadium, and that's what like a lot of people in the NWSL are surprised by. They're like, oh, we still expected this to be like catering towards families and little kids, but no, like I mean, it is like a big bars. You can definitely enjoy yourself there. So
if anyone needs to get drunk, it's families. Families need to get drunk. That is a family draw for me. So I'm just kidding. Don't drink responsibly, by the way, everybody.
Need to get to Louisville.
I know, right?
And there's pretty good barbecue too. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you not think there's barbecue and bourbon? It's in Louisville.
Because I live in North Carolina and there's barbecue in the stadium. There's not bourbon in most of them.
Well,
we're not. I understand we're not in a place where they make bourbon, but
that's true. I've sat in 3 spots. I sat in the I've been saying Estopanel end. I'm such a noob.
Estopanel, yeah.
I sat on the Estopanel end for the match that ended in a draw between the Chicago soccer team and Racing Louisville. I sat in the press box once, and then I sat in the north end for the NWSL championship. The north end, it's great because you're really close. You're right there in the game, which is fun. But sitting in the Estopanel end for like a night game, and then you see the bridge lit up and stuff. I think that's perfect spot right there. I'm a sucker for a bridge. I'm a sucker for a bridge right there in this outside the stadium. Yeah, beautiful. Très magnifique. Yeah.
So this one's from also from previous question was from Michael Pop. This next one's from Michael Pop as well at Elville Fossils. How can Emily Fox be better utilized, which can result in her getting associated with more goals being scored in 2022?
I think that's less of an Emily Fox question and more of the rest of the team question. There were so many times last season that she would make those incredible dashes forward, and then like no one would follow her, and she would just be standing there with the ball, like,
what do I do?
wah, wah. And so, like, if she can be there and like be able to send a cross off right away and have like a Jess Mcdonald there, then that's how we're gonna utilize Emily Fox scoring. I want her to take more shots though. Up until before college, she was a forward. I think she played as a forward all through high school and everything like that. So, I mean, she can do it. And there are times when, she got close. And, she's taken shots and, like, gone for headers on the national team. Start doing that with racing, Emily. But I think as she builds chemistry with teammates and, if Nadim stays healthy, now that Mcdonald's there, I think Kirsten Davis and Parker Goins have a lot of potential. Obviously, Ebony Salmon. I can't say enough about her too. But if they start playing less behind the ball and more aggressively and like getting into space, around the defenders and getting more into the box, then I think that she will start gaining more assists. So,
yeah, having Jess McDonald and Ebony Salmon up front, that's insanity. Like that front two is going to be stupid. Like, no offense to Cece Kaiser, but they put her in a position that she usually doesn't even play.
Exactly.
Like, that's not her position. And Ekik is so young and stuff. And I think having those two up front is going to open up so much space for Emily Fox. It's going to be crazy. But
no, and also having someone like Jalen Howell who can like help the defense a little bit, so the midfielders can actually like get a little more forward and be a little more box to box.
Yeah,
I think will also help. So.
Definitely. And now changing the coach too, that might have something to do with it also. Hopefully, Emily gives a little more free reign, I guess.
That's a Florida State University alum, defending national champion Jalen Howell, Thomas.
Just two-time Mac Herman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
I've heard just to clarify.
Her,
yeah, I've heard about
her. So our good buddy Derek Helling wants to know, have you been to the Limbo Tiki Bar in Louisville?
No, and I'm actually kind of upset that I didn't even know it existed. So I will have to rectify that situation.
Okay, before we go rectifying situations based off Derek Helling, Derek, I love you, but you give some of the most random questions and random thoughts onto our show. So don't feel bad like, oh, I need to satisfy Derek Helling's question. Don't worry about that. Please, Bekki, don't do that.
Derek Helling's good. I enjoy reading this.
He is great people. Writes. But
my man definitely piques my interest. I had no idea there was a tiki bar in Louisville. It shouldn't surprise me because Louisville is a weird, eclectic place, but
it sounds like a tourist place. And Derek was a tourist. Or
it's a crazy hole in the wall, which is almost more likely.
Yeah. That's also, that could also be.
Crazy dive bar, tiki themed dive bar.
I will say the 4 years I lived in Ohio, the city that I regret the most I didn't make it to was Louisville.
It's a fun place.
I'm also a huge Muhammad Ali fan, so I just wanted to get down there.
Oh, have you not been to the center? It's amazing.
No, I wanted to get down to Louisville. I never got down there.
Oh, definitely. It's worth it just to go for that. It was amazing. I weirdly went there during the Women's Cup as part of a gala, so I was like walking around while like PSG and like Bayern and the Red Stars. So like I got to like stand next to like Tierna Davidson and like Mal Pugh, like pretending to like shadow box Muhammad Ali and get to see that in person. So that was pretty fun, actually. That was my one time I went to the center.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. That's great. I've only gone in and out of Louisville for matches, and I hate it. I wish if maybe like my wife and I could get away for a weekend, that would be perfect. Of course, it'd be a match weekend where I could also go to a match, but go around the city, check out different places. That would be fantastic. I hate that I just like drive in and out. I'm too close that it's 3 hours or so from here. So it's a single day thing, but I would love to spend more time.
It's worth it. It's a fun city. It is. It exceeded my expectations. I'm originally from Philly. I've lived in London. I've lived in Italy, and wow. I love Louisville. It has good food. It has good culture. So like it's an interesting place.
That is quite the variety of places that you.
That wasn't London, Ohio, right?
No, and not London, Kentucky either. It was actually London, England.
Oh, okay, that London. There's just a mystique, right? All those funny accents.
All right. Felix, our good buddy Felix, who I've been trading a lot of Simpsons memes lately with,
Lately, you've been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah, I know, but there's been an uptick lately.
Okay.
He wants to know the best tacos in Louisville.
Okay, I have kind of a funny answer for this. Well, one, I don't know. I liked Taco Lucador, which was near me, which is one reason I liked it. I mean, they had good margaritas and good beer and decent tacos, so I was happy with that. But several players have said the best tacos they've ever had are actually from the Racing Louisville Lou City cafeteria.
What?
It is such a good cafeteria. Addie Merrick said that she went back and actually like took tacos home at the end of the day because they were the best tacos she ever had. Were made by the chef there for the team.
Wow. We need names. Does this chef have a restaurant too, or are they exclusive to the cafeteria?
He's exclusive to the team and apparently has a soup of a day that players are so obsessed with. They've like learned to or they've started like learning with him how to make the soups. And one of the Lou City players said his favorite restaurant in Louisville was the cafeteria. So
I need to get my U.S. soccer coaching license. I'm usually against most things U.S. soccer, but I need to get my coaching license. They can develop me as a coach. I'll go there. Come on, let's go. We're gonna be coaches now.
Well, if FC Cincy wasn't scared to play Lou City,
that's true,
anymore, maybe you could get down there to cover a game. Say you're covering the opposition or something. But
I could do.
Pretty sure they're scared to go down there anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, it's fun. I need to go down there. Like, even though I can't get into the cafeteria, maybe I can sneak in. Probably not. I'm not stealthy.
No, when I think of you, I don't think of stealthy. That's not the first word that comes to mind.
I disappeared.
This is the final question, Bekki. This is the big one. What is your season prediction for Racing Louisville?
God, I have no idea because every team is so different. Like, if everybody stayed mostly the same and racing changed, I felt like I could make like an educated guess. But like, North Carolina is now KC. KC is now North Carolina, and Florida moved, like, got rid of literally everybody and had a fire sale. And I really don't know. I will be happy if we improve upon where we are, and I'm pretty confident that we will. I don't want us to be second to last. I mean, I would love to be in playoffs, but I would be happy with 8th place, just an improvement. We are a team in the middle of a rebuild. We are a very, very young team made of rookies with a new coach who's still establishing himself. So as long as we do better, as long as we have a higher winning percentage, I won't even say points because we're playing fewer games this season than we did last season. I just want us to do better. I think we will do better. So I want to say between like 9th or 8th place is where I hope we end up. If we do better than that, then I will be the most ecstatic person on the planet. But I want to see solid growth. So,
okay.
This sounds like kind of like you were making the case earlier, right? Like, this is an opportunity to get in on the ground floor. Yeah. Right. You want to be a new fan, like, come in while you're bad. So first of all, then nobody can call you a bandwagon fan later on, but you can kind of, buy low, sell high, right? Or, well, not sell at all, but buy low, get it on the ground floor, watch the team grow. Cause that's, in a way, like, the chase is as much fun as obviously winning, getting there and winning. Not that we know anything about that. Because Chicago hadn't done it. But like, watching that team kind of start from the bottom and grow is a really fun process, I think. So yeah, it'll be cool to see like how they keep developing with a new coach. And as it's still, obviously they've only been around a year, so it'll be cool to see.
Yeah, and I think they have a lot of potential for growth, and I do think that they're really putting together a solid core of players who will be around for a few years, and hopefully some of them will get re-signed and they will stay around for even longer. But yeah, I mean, I really think this is a team that's going to be it's going to be it's going to be better this season, and we're going to be even better in following seasons. So I agree 100%.
They could be, I wouldn't be shocked like seeing like 7th or 8th, right? Maybe on the cusp of a playoff thing, because you're better than Orlando. I would say you're better than North Carolina. I'd say
and Houston, I think probably.
Yeah, I was gonna throw Houston. They're kind of they had such like 2020 was an enigma, right? That was so very different, but they have a lot of that same core, and they brought in Sanchez in the offseason. So I could see Louisville and Houston kind of going at it. I think they'll be better than San Diego. I'm not too impressed with San Diego's roster. Angel City, I think Angel City, Louisville, and Houston could all be in the same kind of group. And just to annoy people, I'll put Gotham in that group too.
Take that, Robbie.
Yeah, that's what you get when you don't ask us questions. Sorry.
Any rumors of Louisville getting any famous celebrity owners?
No, and if celebrity owners make you happy and make you excited for your team, that's great.
Great tweets. Yeah, great tweets.
I don't care. I mean, if they bring up engagement, if they bring up investment, and they really, if people are like, well, Christina Aguilera is now a co-owner of Angel City, I better get me some tickets, then that's awesome. But I really do not care about celebrity owners, and I don't care about celebrity kids owning teams. Like, to each their own. That's great. I want to focus on my team, not the wealthy people who own it.
100%.
Yeah. I'm sick of focusing on wealthy people that own soccer teams. I'm done with it. I'm sick of talking about it.
100%. I wish we could talk about anything else.
Anything but, Rich. I think, Angel City, they say we've sold all these season tickets. Those were tickets they gave to their ownership. That was the 14,000 tickets. They all went to owners. That's how many people.
I think Gabby Union has about 12 of those. Yeah.
Yeah, Gabby Union. Well, I'm supporting the youth bosses of America. Although child labor, I'm not sure how that falls into play, but hopefully they won't put them into too much work in the front office. But
Thomas, their management, they're the enemy.
That's true. Sorry.
I mean, if they have a 3-year-old running their organization, then it's probably going to be coherent than many of the other teams that currently exist right now. So
that's
be much worse.
Front office will win awards over Chicago's. Bekki, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for taking the time to get, not just us, but hopefully the whole BAM fam caught up on Racing Louisville, all things Racing Louisville from the past, the expansion season, and now beyond. So hopefully everyone, Bekki, that you paid for drinks can pay you back. Why did you pay for like 20 people's drink? Was Robbie Rogers one of those people?
He was, and so was Alex.
You paid. Did they get you anything?
No. But see, that's the thing. Like, when people come and visit your house, you want to be like, come on, I'm gonna treat you. Jenna Tonelli from Gotham, I bought her and her wife a drink, and Courtney Stith from Diaspora United, and both the Gal Pals from Gal Pal Sports. This is networking. That's what you're doing, Bekki. You're better at networking than I am. And you know what? It worked.
Hey.
Wow, that's I've learned a lesson.
Sounds to me like we could learn some things here.
Although networking with Robbie is not going to get you anything. Not going to get you anything, especially Alex. Robbie will get you more than Alex, and Robbie gives you nothing. So take from that what you will. Just kidding. But honestly, it's been great having you. I'm finally being able to talk to you and stuff outside of the occasional social media interaction is a great treat for us. And I hope you'll come back on the show. Maybe when racing is making the playoffs, we can come back and preview the playoff run too. Oh, so in a few years, then you're making sure. I said they're right on the. I said they're right above Gotham and Houston and Angel City. So that's why. No, I'm positive that it'll be sooner rather than later. But no, I had a great time too. So thank you so much for having me. Who's going to be in the Women's Cup? Do you know yet? No clue. No clue. I'm hoping that. I know this is very slim chance. I need Liverpool to come over here. If Liverpool came over, I wouldn't hate it. But have to exploit the Gemma connection. Yeah, exactly. She was doing some commentary for women's matches here in the off season. She was. So Gemma can do it all though. She is a jack of all trades. So go Gemma. I will root for her forever. It might not just be the Liverpool reasons, but she's just great at all she does. So anyway, and you're also great at what you do. So check out everybody Bekki's work she does for the Beautiful Game Network on Butchertown Rundown. The first episode just came out last week? Yeah, last Monday. I've heard you're already getting more critical acclaim than we've gotten in 2.5 years. So keep up the good work, and we'll see you around. Sounds great. Thank you. Wow, Thomas, man, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Really, really good of Bekki to lower herself to come on the show and take the time to talk with us, learn us all about Racing Louisville, and
Tell you what, man, I said it at the end of the interview too. I'm excited for there to be soccer played.
Yeah, we need something on the field pronto.
So, be on the lookout for that. Definitely check her out.
Mm.
And everything that she's doing a great job with her writing and her podcast. So, on that note, guys, we appreciate every single one of you. We love every single one of you. We appreciate you taking the time this week to listen to us. If you're new here, maybe you came in to listen to Becky's interview. Follow us on social media. We're at Bryant and Me on Instagram and at Bryant and Me on Twitter. Twitter is where we do most of our interactions, where we solicit our weekly questions for Ask Bam, the award-winning.
Yeah.
No actual awards have been given.
If we make up the awards and give them to ourselves.
There it is.
Yeah.
So, check us out on those two social medias. You can follow Thomas. He's at one Thomas Costello on both Twitter and Instagram. You can read all the fantastic things that he's writing. He's covering the Crew from Massive Report. He's covering Ohio State women's basketball for Land Grand Holy Land as they
nailed it.
Get ready to head on into the Big Ten tournament and then the big dance.
I might be traveling down to the Big Ten tournament here next month. It's exciting times. I shared, I think last week, I'm rekindling my childhood love of basketball was my favorite sport as a kid. Like growing up when Kevin Garnett was brand new to the league and like out in Phoenix with Charles Barkley days and the Hakeem Olajuwon Rockets and stuff. Like I'm as excited about basketball now as I was as a kid. And there was a long time where I wasn't. So I'm excited to be back into it and happy for the opportunity to be able to write about it.
So definitely be on the lookout for that kind of good stuff. We appreciate you sharing the show with your friends. Share it on social media. Talk about us on social media. Share it out there with your friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, enemies, random people you meet on the street. Pretty much anybody. It's all appreciated. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you get fine and not so fine podcasts. We always appreciate that as well. Please make sure that you're taking care of yourselves every week. Take care of your mental health as well. It's absolutely vital, important. Please talk to someone. It's important. It definitely helps. I'm living proof of that. Please get out there and make sure you're taking care of that as well. We love every single one of you. Have a great week. Cheers.
We got Justin Horniker next week. STL podcast talking about Kansas City Current. Let's do this. Have a great week, everybody. I love you, Brian.
I love you too.
He said yes. Well, he said he loves me. All right, bye, everybody.